Hello and welcome to this webinar. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all here. And I'm looking forward to the next 2 hours where we'll have a roundtable discussion with several distinguished guests. Today's webinar is organized by the Bioregions Facility and the topic is Biobased Solutions in Public Procurement. Is it the way forward to support circular bioeconomy? This webinar is part of the Bioregions Facility, which is a series on innovative approaches towards forest-based bioeconomy. To start with some practicalities, as you can see, we have several panelists and also a rather large audience, and I expect there will be more coming. The idea is that only the panelists can unmute and talk and share their camera, and everyone else is muted and doesn't have the camera on. We have the chat function open, and the chat function is for the participants to raise questions. If you have questions, kindly say to whom the question goes and then type it. At the end of the seminar, we have a discussion round, so please highlight then to whom it is and the question will pick it out. In further steps, to have a look at the agenda, I will start with a brief introduction on the objective of the day. Then we will go further to have a short introductory words by the chair of the Bioregions Facility, Leire Barañano. Then we go to the panelists and I ask them kindly to introduce themselves. And after that, we go right into the panel discussion. We will have 5 questions and each of the 3 panelists will respond to each of the questions. So there's about 5 minutes per question. We will also highlight some of the questions with results from the survey. After that, we have a time slot for questions from the audience, but also we have questions to the audience with a small Menti exercise, which will be finalized by concluding remarks and next steps. With that, I would like to introduce what we're going to do today. The Bioregions Facility is a facility where several regions who want to take a step forward to shaping the forest-based circular bioeconomy in the regions come together and shape their work in policy, in business, and in the society. And we're open for new regions to join. But as I said, Leire will explain more about that. Part of this work was to explore if and how public procurement can advance bio-based solutions as a way to support the change towards a more circular bioeconomy. And this work had 4 phases. The first was to explore within the regions how they are utilizing public procurement currently. That was followed by a desktop study and report on other types of public procurement like green or innovative or sustainable public procurement, and several good examples. That again, we followed up with a survey on relevant green public procurement and other experts on precisely the question we are exploring today. How can you use public procurement to advance the circular bio-based economy? What works, what doesn't work, what are good examples? And this survey went in its first phase to experts on the topic, and the response rate was rather good with 28%. After this webinar, we will showcase the first results, but we'll also open it up to the public. Part of this exercise was that we came across good examples and also relevant experts, and 3 of them are here today, and I'm very, very happy for you to join us today. So with that, I would like to ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves. And no, here, sorry, my mistake. First, we start with Leire. We start with Leire and the introduction of the Bioregions Facility. Leire, the floor is yours.
Hello and good afternoon. Thank you, Diana, for your introduction. It is a pleasure for me to be here at the end of the meeting. We know that we have many challenges that climate change has created, and the bioeconomy can be a good practice for that. But we need urgently put into practice. And the region, Diana has explained, we have a very important role in this transformation. The last review of the strategy in bioeconomy, specifically focusing regional activities. The recommendation was for all the region start working with bioeconomy plans and actions, especially putting them working near 2024 at the least moment. And in this context, I would like to remark that 1 year ago we created a Bioregions Facility. The Bioregions Facility promotes transregional cooperation because we need to cooperate together, shaping and implementing new activities based in forest bioeconomy. The initiative facilitates knowledge sharing and cooperation around the topics in innovation, institution, infrastructure, investment, through a range of activities that we are working together. The facility connects 3 regions now, but we want to open this project because we consider that we are in the opportunity to connect with other regions and start learning and sharing best practices with them. For that, this is a first step. We are working 1 year, but we are trying to connect with other regions because this project starts, and of course it has a very long-term durability. In this initiative, coordinated by the European Forest Institute, the 3 founding regions are the Basque Country, Spain, North Karelia, Finland, and North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany. The facility aims to attract, as I have explained, more regions and extend the network and, of course, realize its full potential. One of the key factors that we consider for that development is the Biobased public procurement. Of course, we are analyzing other types of activities, but today we are focusing in that area. We know that this is a very complex issue, but on the other hand, it is a clear driver of transformation. We believe that there is a long way to go on in this field, and public authorities can play a very important role promoting it. Today, we have a very good panel of speakers with experience, knowledge, and how these issues have been promoted. I think that, and I hope that we have the opportunity to learn and interact with them. And of course, for us, is the next step for to know more about this issue and to improve in our regions more about this concept. Thank you for your attention, and I would like to continue with the speakers because we have a very short time, and the best or the most important thing is to learn about them. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for this introduction, Leire. Leire, as well, Basque Country was the first region to join, so to speak, and with that, Leire is the chair of the Bioregions Facility. So thank you for those introductory words. And I want to follow the introduction of our speakers. And may I ask Oriana Romano to introduce yourself briefly?
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Oriana Romano. I'm leading the OECD program on the circular economy in cities and regions. For those who are not familiar with the OECD, the OECD is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And in this program specifically, we are supporting local and regional government in coordination with national government in transitioning from a linear to a circular economy. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you very much, Oriana. May I ask next Martin to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Martin Scherpenisse. I'm from the Netherlands provincie Zeeland. That means land and sea. And it's one of the 12 departments from the Netherlands. Since 2013, I'm active in bio-based procurement and nowadays also in circular procurement. Yeah, we buy a lot of things. I explain that to you later. Yeah, our province is, has islands, estuaries, sandbars, and a coastline of 650 kilometers. There are 385,000 inhabitants, residents, and in the summer period, this amount doubles with all the tourists we have. And my office is located in an old abbey. It's from the 11th century. So that's my introduction.
Thank you very much and very much welcome. Then our third speaker is Lidia Capparelli. Lidia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to stay with you all today, and it's a pleasure to learn from all the other experts. So I think this is an important occasion to share also knowledge. I work with in the central purchasing body of Italy. I have in charge the sustainable procurement, and from 2006 I'm working strictly with the Ministry of Environment, and of course with the DG Environment, and with other international organizations like UNEP, ICLE, and so on. So in the sustainability matter, I think a key issue is collaboration. So the capacity of stakeholders to act together maximize the effort of the organization. So it's important, and it is a key message also for Italy. And as you may know, in Italy we have a mandatory system, legal obligation on sustainability criteria. So the collaboration with the stakeholders is key issue, and I will share with you later on the experience of Italy in this field. So thank you to be inviting me.
Thank you very much, Lydia, for this introduction. As you can see, we have 3 high-level experts who are very familiar with the topic. And so I'm quite happy to start the roundtable discussion. The approach is such: we have 5 questions. For some of the questions, I will show some of the survey results. The whole survey will be shared after, but right now it's just to give some highlights. The speakers can comment on it. They can share their own experience, which might confirm or contradict. So I'm looking forward for very good discussion. With that, I would like to start with the first question. It's can or how can public procurement support regions in promoting circular bio-based products and services? And that was also one of the questions of the survey. And the overwhelming answer was yes. One of the best ways to increase public uptake of bio-based products was public procurement, very soon followed by voluntary mechanisms like labeling, but also marketing and only lesser standards. May I go to the first speaker and ask on your experiences, and what is your experience on the topic of public procurement as a way to support or promote circular bio-based products? May I ask with Lidia?
Thank you. The role of public procurement is crucial when the public demand represents an important percentage of the overall market. In this way, public procurement, as you may know, at the European level counts for 15 to 17% of the GDP. In some ways, in some fields, it could be much more than that. So the possibility for public authorities to address sustainability, it could be really decisive to change the way that the food products are produced. So it's really important to address this message to market, and it's important to tell to citizens which are the action taken by public authorities. So in this sense, there is a circular information on the action that public authorities used to obtain the objective they have. So public procurement is key. Just to give some numbers about my organization, so the value of procurement in managed by CONSIP is 17 billion euro last year, and the huge percentage, more than 30% of this overall transaction value is sustainable procurement, is related to sustainable procurement. In this way, you can see that there is room for improvement, of course, but there is also still a huge percentage that is available for all public authorities at central and at local level. But let me say that regions are a key issue in public procurement, because following the OECD analysis of the expenses, so regional procurement counts more than central procurement. And this element is key issue also for the interaction that local regional public authorities play in the way to connect suppliers and public authorities' needs. So in this way, regions are really crucial to act the transformation they want to see into the market. And also the advantages are really important to be shared with the citizens in this way.
Thank you very much for this reaction. With that, I would like to go to Martin, and Martin has prepared some visualization that he wants to show. Martin, do you want to react to the same question?
Yeah, thank you, Diana. It's a pity that this isn't a live event, because I have a nice ice scraper. We'll give everybody one. And this ice scraper is a bio-based product. It's from potatoes, and there grow a lot of potatoes in our country. And we have also a fries factory. And when the potatoes are sliced to potatoes, you have a rest product. And from the rest product, we make those ice scrapers. So you can't put them in the soil and the ground and there comes a tree, but I think it's a nice example. And that's important, to share examples and to tell about them. Because as you can be a launching customer, and that's necessary. But otherwise, this upcoming market doesn't come further. And that's what we do at the province. We buy, for example, a bio-based scooter, where you can see here. And that scooter is has a bio-based frame. It's made from bio-based resins and hemp vesels. And it's a very strong scooter. They had an accident with a car, and the car didn't survive that accident, but the scooter drove further. So bio-based products sometimes are better than the usual products, and that's important. And then the way you can put it in tenders is also something to think about. It's good if we ask for products that already are on the market, but if you don't ask for them, the supplier doesn't survive. So that's important. You can see that in the Eco Keepers trees. It's tree holder. Ground coverage, we asked for that product in the roadworks for widening a road. And we ask also for pilots. You must make it possible for suppliers to pilot their products and to make examples possible. So that's also important if you want to stimulate that market. Yeah, and then we have also paint. I told you we are our office is in a very old building, so we must use also a very old paint. It's paint from linseed oil. So yeah, that's in fact that's a very good paint. It's very strong. It's flexible. Only you must paint it at a lower speed. So yeah, that were the examples I want to share with you.
Thank you very much for those examples. As understood, the region of Zealand does a lot on promoting good examples, leading by example. Yeah. With that, I would like to hand over to Oriana. What are your experiences or recommendations on how to promote, or like on if public procurement is a way of promoting circular bio-based products and services?
Sure, thank you very much for the question. I just would like to share some of the key messages from the OECD studies on the subject, and then also those in relation to a very recent study on the circular economy in cities and regions, whereby starting from the evidence on the importance of public procurement that in the OECD in terms of accounts. So Lidia already shared some numbers. 12% of GDP is how much the public procurement account in the OECD area. If we consider only the European Union, then we are between the 14 and the 16%, which means 2 trillion euros per year of purchases of services, work and supplies. So there is an important component of public procurement, but also of the role of some national government in purchasing goods and services for intermediate consumption. This can be related to energy, communication, information technology, but also repairing and public works. In 2016, for example, the subnational governments accounted for more than 50% of public procurement in the OECD area, with a distinction between federal countries, 62%, a unitary country, 38%. Now, starting from this, we also have to look at the level of green public procurement, which is pretty high in the OECD area, accounted from one of the latest data of 2016 up to 80%. The problem is that only a few of these include resource efficiency consideration. So when we did the recent survey of 2020, and we asked cities and regions if they used circular criteria into public procurement, around 45% responded positively, but there is still a big and important percentage that actually argue that these circular economy principles within public procurement are not in place. In terms of how public procurement can support regions and cities in promoting a circular economy, so I'm going a bit beyond the bio-based product and services. Of course, they can contribute by closing energy and material loops within a supply chain. The idea is to favor high quality services rather than purchasing products. And so this can give also priority to design of products that would last longer. And this means for the public procurement that will include circular economy criteria, first of all, providing a market for product and service with a high-level environmental performance, but also develop and scaling sustainable products and services. As I said, the evidence of such schemes achieving this kind of objectives, especially when it comes to resource efficiency, remain limited. So I will stop here.
Thank you very much, Oriana. You gave the perfect introduction to the next question, which is like, which sectors have the biggest potentials for bio-based solutions in public procurement? And you just highlighted that, well, what was it, like high quality products and services have the biggest impact. And that was also reflected in our survey, so to speak. So construction materials, if it's in community buildings, social housing, or construction materials for the infrastructure, are seen as the one with the biggest demand for innovative bio-based solutions, which are then followed by food catering and events, so event-related products and services, and also bioenergy, followed by clothes and textiles, and only after that, furniture and indoors. As less relevant, but still, of course, there, gardening and landscaping, transport, hospitals and laboratories have been highlighted, mobility and IT equipment. So what, if I may take that to the next person to ask, may I ask maybe Martin to start, like in your experience, like which sectors have the biggest potential from the Zealand perspective?
Thank you, Diana. Yeah, I recognize those sectors who are named on this sheet. Construction materials, food, catering, bioenergy, clothes, yeah, the regular things, I would say. But it's important to look at your location. Our politicians, they want to stimulate the bio-based economy. So economy is the driver. Stimulate the local economy, stimulate innovation, and lower the CO2 emission, and then look at what's in your city or your region. We have fishery, farmers, recycling, bio-based, base chemical factories. So yeah, it's also a fact that you must look in your region. What is there? What sort of activities are there, and you can combine that. You can try to combine that with your procurement. So that's for so far.
Thank you very much. May I hand this question and further to Lidia to respond to that?
Yeah. All the sectors that are allotted into the answer to the questioners are perfectly combined with the actions of the National Action Plan on Public Procurement in Italy. So all the sectors that you mentioned, there's a high potential for bio-based, are treated in Italy with specific legal requirements issued by a decree of the Ministry of Ecological Transition. And all the criteria related to the procurement of this kind of products refer to circular economy in sense of recyclability, in terms of using from recycle. So the action taken by the Ministry of Ecological Transition is to focus the importance of using products from recycled content and with the correct design. All these products must be recycled again, so can be disposed at the end of their life cycle and recycled with a separate combination of the materials into the product, whichever we are talking about. So the position that is taken is to define strict criteria on the design phase of the product, and then criteria related to the percentage of recycled content into the product, and ask suppliers to offer product that can be recycled at the end of the life cycle. And this is referred to a specific condition in Italy about circular economy, because we don't have raw material as a general possibility to use. So Italy is not so keen on raw material. And for these reasons, we developed a sort of policy about the recycled content. And it's so important that also public sector is aware of the importance of the life cycle and the recyclability of the products. And in this case, it's important that education could play a very big role in this sense. Let me make an example. When we buy a mobile phone, we don't like to know that this product is coming from a recycling process, but we like to have a new product, because the majority of people associate to the condition of new such a highest quality on the market. It's important the contrary. So to understand that if we save resources and we use recycled content into the product used by public authorities, we are just giving a clear message to our citizens, because recycling content, when the quality and the performance of the product is assessed at the same level of accuracy of a new raw material, is a saving, is an advantage for the environment, and is an advantage for the economical point of view. In this regard, let me say that there is also another issue to be considered. Sometimes recycled content is not costing less compared to the raw material. And this is another question to be addressed. Plastic, the quotation of plastic on the market is independent of the price of the oil. And sometimes when suppliers go to the market and ask for recycled plastic, they should pay more instead of the new plastic. So in this sense, I think the role of the public is fundamental. Also to give some incentives to use recycled content to be used into the production and to be preferred into public procurement choices. Mm. And this, I think, is a key issue in this argument.
Thank you. You have made a very strong point on the circularity, especially the circular economy. Of course, the circularity criteria also apply the same way for bio-based products, part of the product design. May I go further to Oriana, that you can maybe elaborate a bit further on your experience on the bio-based solutions and the biggest potentials?
Yes, sure. Thanks for the question. Well, there are probably three things to take into account. One thing is that it is still necessary probably to talk about the potential of bio-based solution, as there is much that still needs to be understood in terms of research, innovation, durability of goods, impact on health or environment in general. So there are several issues that need to be clarified before the bio-based solution in terms of product and services could be taken into account, not as an exception, but as an effective solution also through public procurement, which is a means to an end at the end of the day. The potentiality of several sectors are, of course, greater than other, and in the survey they came up very clearly. We're talking about construction, we're talking about food, for example, how it is administrated in by public entities, and for example, schools or other supply chain at local and regional level. Of course, we have also the sector of agriculture, and the sanitary material, for example, for hospital is something else that can be taken into account. But there are obstacles, and the obstacles are mainly related not only to the fact of still push forward the research and have a better understanding of what kind of bioproducts, bioservices, and bio-based solutions we are talking about. Here, Lidia and Martin, that are experts much more than I can be on those items, highlight the variety of product and services we are talking about, and probably we are merging under the same umbrella, but each of them is very different to one another, should be treated in a different way, and have different consequences. So first is this, and the second is the lack of commercial level also of the available product. If we think about some of the bio-based product available on the market, and for example at European level we can think about the bio-based chemicals, for example, they represent only 3% of the global market within these categories. And many innovative bio-based products, including plastics or feed ingredients produced by bio-waste, they are not yet at a commercial level. So there is potential, but there is a lot still to clarify, and there are still lots of questions to be answered.
Thank you very much for this overview. It brings me to my next point on good practice examples. You've been all working different types of guidelines on practical public procurement introductions and advancing. Now I would like to get a bit more, how did you do that? Like, what can you give some good practice examples that you have implemented yourself, that you have come across? What are good solutions for advancing the bio-based solutions, and what made them succeed? In that case, may I ask maybe with Oriana to start right again?
Yes, thank you for the question. Actually, I'm also interested in the answer to this question, because it's really not easy to find good practices that have been proved, at least through our survey. We interviewed and surveyed more than 50 cities and regions within the OECD area. And I have to say that bio-based solutions in public procurement is not what came out prominently from the result of the survey. And as I said, is around 47% of cities that are including circular economy principles within public procurement. The problems is that first, bio-based solutions are often more expensive in comparison to fossil-based counterpart, and also in order to justify more expensive product, there is the need of a reliable certificate, certificating this better environmental impact, which on the other hand is not always easy to justify, even when there are techniques and methodologies applied like life cycle analysis. What we found out from the case studies that we analyzed within the OECD program on the circular economy, like for example in Spain, Valladolid and Granada, or in Umea in Sweden, where agriculture, forestry are important component of the local economy, is the important to start using circular economy related principles in what would be the future of public procurement. But for now, we saw application within the building developments, and this is, for example, the case of Amsterdam, that developed also a roadmap for circular land tendering. There is public procurement when it comes to circular business models, and so mainly shifting from product to service schemes, like in the case of renting printers, electric lamps, or furniture. And we have example from cities of, for example, Ljubljana in Slovenia, Slovenia, but also some other cities that incorporate a secondary material repairing and reuse. And this is the case of Paris, France, but also in Denmark or Kitakyushu in Japan, where there is a public procurement use for in-use phase of work clothes and uniform. But again, this is much beyond bio-based solution. So I also look forward to the contribution from my colleagues here.
Yeah. It is part of the picture of circularity, of sustainability, of advancing. So thank you very much for this very broad overview from your rather rich experience. I would like to put the same question to Lidia from your concept experience. Do you have gems to share with us?
In terms of bio-based products, so there is a specific regulation regarding fertilizers from the food waste supply chain to the fertilizers, and in this case for the service of the maintenance of green areas, the requirement provided for public authorities is to use compost in this case. So, and there is also a good practice for canteens and for catering services in terms of collection of food waste and for a correct disposal. And there are other practices related to wood and from wood from recycled content, and to collect all the wood in furniture and so on. And there is also a sort of content related to bio-based plastic in food related to the packaging of food. And yeah, these are the practice that we are following right now.
Thank you very much. With that, we come to Martin, and I know that you shared some examples with us here. Martin, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of examples, and yeah, we show them on our platform, Sustainable Procurement platform, and we have our own dashboard. And when you click on that icons, you can get more information. I recognize what Oriana told, the expenses, the costs of products are much higher for bio-based products than a regular product. Yeah, that's often the case. For example, our scooter, yeah, it was twice as expensive as a normal scooter. So, but yeah, because we related our procurement on our economy, our politicians says from talk to us if something is more expensive, then we can talk about it, and then yeah, it's no problem. Even not always. And I want to ask you to not only good examples, but also failing examples. One of the examples you can see here under the construction, and that was a building, and yeah, we let design that building with full with bio-based materials. For example, burnt larix wood, a green roof, bio-based pavement, special walls. But yeah, if we calculated the costs, this building was twice as expensive as a regular building. So yeah, we talked to our politicians. Yeah, they said, no way, that's too expensive. So yeah, you must think about that. Do some small things, or yeah, make a big example. So we do a lot of small things, toilet paper, towels, the paint for our bridge, tableware. yeah, all those sort of things are on the market, and you can just ask them without very complicated tenders. Well, and yeah, there are a lot of examples. We have a meeting room, and yeah, we asked the architect to create a bio-based meeting room. Then you get one. Yeah? All those furniture with wood, fabrics, yeah, all bio-based materials. So yeah, that's also a message from me. Just ask it, and just ask also the suppliers. What do you do on bio-based products? You can see the Audi sign logo here. We bought some Audi A6, and we asked our dealer for yeah, what's bio-based in it. Yeah. First, he didn't know what bio-based was, so he asked the importer, and the importer says, "Yeah, I don't know. I asked the manufacturer." So yeah, Audi Germany, he told us there was some bio materials in the wheel arches, the insulation, and the car case cover is also from bio-based composite. So, okay. So then we told the Audi, the next car we want to get is a full bio-based car. Yeah, yeah. Of course, that's not possible. But yeah, you must ask it, but to get it. And on that way, we also made a flyer for suppliers to explain what bio-based is. It's even that simple. They don't know what it is, so you must explain it. Huh? Yeah, yeah. You can also take a look on our dashboard yourself.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think there was some very good examples. So start small, ask for it, and then it sort of spreads further. You've mentioned some barriers already on, like, excuse me, on what is hindering the uptake. So next I want to go to drivers and barriers. Excuse me. Sorry. So looking at the drivers and the barriers, like how could bio-based solutions be boosted, or how could they become more common? When we looked at barriers in our survey, what was highlighted, what you have also mentioned, bio-based products are often too expensive. It's difficult to find information on the products. The competition to non-bio-based products are rather strong, or there's an unsupportive regulatory environment. Sometimes it was matters of quality. What are your, well, experiences on the barriers? Like, what did you see is the biggest problem when you sort of try to ask for bio-based products? May I maybe ask Martin to start with answering that question?
Yeah, in my opinion, the strongest barriers are where to find them. Oriana told also that earlier. And also, yeah, are they really bio-based? So greenwashing is a danger. If you ask several suppliers, do you have bio-based products? Yeah, they always say yes to procurers. Of course, they want to sell something, but yeah, that's why yeah, you need to investigate, or it's really bio-based. And maybe you can put a slide on, Diana, for our the next slide. Okay, I don't. I mean the slide with the databases.
Is it this one, like the bio-based in?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's the one that I had from you.
That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
yes,
the one.
Please.
Yeah, For a European project, we started to develop a bio-based database where you can find the products. There's a lot of information on it. But this European project doesn't have a good exit strategy, so it's not actual anymore. The products on it are old, or so that's why we are busy to make a new database. It's already in Dutch. Maybe we can make an English version from it later. And there you can find bio-based products, or in tenders we can point to that database for if we want bio-based products in our tender. Yeah, just look for it over there. And the advantage is that we can have independent editorial board. So someone checks the criteria, someone checks they are real bio-based products, and for us as buyers, yeah, that's very nice. If it gets, yeah, it's not a marker stamp, or how do you say? But it's checked, and yeah, that's what we are looking for. Yeah. That's,
okay. Yeah, very good. Thank you very much for those examples. I would like to hand the question further to Oriana.
Thank you, Diana. In terms of drivers, I think we have highlighted during this session how important can be the public procurement as a way for cities and regions to stimulate circular economy in general, so including bio-based solution. In terms of the obstacles, perhaps there are two types of macro obstacles that I would like to highlight. One, it is related to the price and the risk, in the sense that we have already commented on the fact that if production costs are higher than a fossil-based counterpart, then, as Martin showed very concretely, this is a problem. Some bio-based products are still considered risky in terms of infrastructure investment and future sales, and that's why there is a limited commercialization of bioproducts that have been already produced, and also some bio waste or products related to bio waste still need to prove safety in their use in terms of absence of contaminant or potentially present in feedstock like bio waste that must not migrate in the final product. So the price, the risk, and the need to show the safety, this is one set of obstacles. But there is also another set of obstacles, probably from more institutional, let's say, governance point of view of this, that came out from the dialogues that we had with several cities and regions on the topic of circular economy and public procurement, is the need to, or maybe now the lack of dialogue between procurement officials and potential contractors in order to incorporate circular requirements for suppliers and design tenders to promote circularity. And if I if you allow me just a few further seconds to explain what I mean by stimulating this dialogue, is that if cities increase their demand, especially on circular related solution, which could be also bio-based, then this become more attractive in terms for designer or producers. So cities can lead by example, but they can also be can stimulate the market. The problem is that from one side, procurers lack of knowledge on how to incorporate this circular requirement for the suppliers. And then from the market players, designer, manufacturing and retailers, so also there is a lack of knowledge on how to respond to these new requests. So this dialogue between the procurement official and the potential contractor is very important. As a solution, for example, first of all, different departments within municipalities will need to coordinate to have a better understanding of the potential of circular economy within their own activities. Public procurement should also be made more accessible to small businesses, and in some cases, tenders are divided in order to also promote these emerging players within the market. And then it is important to create the demand in the market, but also find the enabling condition for this to happen. And one of these conditions is indeed to build capacity and stimulate this dialogue.
Thank you. Very, very relevant and very good to hear this enhancement of the dialogue. Thank you very much, Oriana. With that, I would like to ask the same question to Lidia. Which drivers and barriers have you come across? How could they be boosted? How could they be overcome?
Yeah, so it's the same barrier that at the beginning was related to green procurement. So this is another issue related to the how to assess sustainability. So it must be referred to technical evidence, and this is the first problem. So how to assess the environmental performance of a bio-based product compared to the general availability on the market. So the problem is the first question that a procurer asks is why I have to accept this product in terms of reduction of environmental effects. So which is the scientific evidence of that? The comparison between the products at the same level of performance need to be accurate. And after that, if I have to prefer one product supposed to be environmentally better than another, which is the evidence that I have to ask to the market. And this is a problem because suppliers are not ready to show the evidence, ready to assess the environmental quality of the product. So it's a simple question of knowledge and from the procurer's point of view and from the suppliers. So if the suppliers need to improve the scientific base of their designing product, at the same time, procurers need to be much more reactive on checking the right information, because in this way, the risk is managed. In the other way, we have a lot of space for greenwashing. So procurement in this field must be really precise and based on scientific evidence. And this could help. And of course, another thing that I think is crucial in this way, when we measure the environmental impact of a product, we must be keen on the fact that we are measuring the life cycle, not only the price. Otherwise, we are not buying correctly.
Thank you very much for this. With that, we come to my last question before we look into the questions from the audience. So also for the audience, feel free to ask more questions. I can see in the chat that the discussion is also going there with very relevant comments. So I would like to come with that to a question that links to our very first one. We have heard a lot about public procurement and that it has indeed a strong role to on potential to promote bio-based solutions. Now the question is, what other mechanisms or concepts other than public procurement are in your experience suitable to advance a circular bioeconomy, particularly when linked to the regional goals? May I ask for this question for maybe Oriana to start, as you have more experience from the cities and regional perspective?
Yes, thank you for the question. Perhaps I would like to highlight two sets of recommendations we came up with within the OECD Circular Economy in Cities and Regions report. From the one hand, when stimulating, let's say, a debate on the circular economy, it is important to take into account that this is a systemic issue, and as such, it needs to go is to look beyond sectors, and in particular to not to compare or define the circular economy as a synonym of waste recycling. Because of this, it is in order to get there, it is needed to stimulate coordination across people, because the circular economy is a shared responsibility. So local, regional government, national government, but also all the stakeholders that play a role, in this case, research center and university, to really provide this evidence, the private sector to stimulate innovation, and so on. So this is the first. The second is to make sure that policies are related to one another, because an input, an output for one policy can be an input for another sectors. And then I'm talking about policies because I'm working on with governments, and so it is important to take into account the consequences at systemic level. And then in terms of places, because when we talk about cities and regions, we don't look at the administrative boundaries, but mostly at the functional as the functional boundaries of cities and regions. So for the circular economy is an input and output of materials and flow, and so these do not stop at city administrative level. In order to get there, so to make sure that a range of actors share the responsibility, that policies are coordinated and systemic, and also there is a link between urban and rural areas. For example, in the place of in a sector like bio-based solution, this is very important. We need to go beyond technical solutions, because in most of the cases the technical solution exists. What is needed is the governance dimensions, so the enabling condition to make this happen. And in most of the cases, through the survey that we have run, actually the technical solution represents the least of the obstacles. What is still missing is a regulatory framework that enables the circular economy, and then in this case bio-based solution, financial solution, capacity building, education, awareness. We are talking about a circular economy or bio-based solution, but these are umbrella concepts. There is much more granularity to dig deeper in for making all these stakeholders work together towards a common objectives, which in many cases, of course, is better environmental quality, carbon neutrality, and the creation of new opportunities for jobs and economic growth. So cities can play a role, cities and regions can play a role as promoters, so establishing long-term goals, but also increasing this awareness and also transparency of their choices, can play a role as a facilitator when they put in contact not only levels of government, but also actors, so stakeholder engagement, acting at the appropriate scale, as I mentioned, the functionality of the circular economy. And then they should be enablers, so make sure that there are enabling conditions from regulation to financing to data and assessment, as Martin and Lidia already highlighted, in order to make sure that this will be a real transition, so a change. And I agree, be much more to avoid that this would just be some sort of greenwashing whereby recycling is usually used as the only solution when it is actually not the case, or anything that is in relation to bioproduct then become also included in circular economy approaches and definition, when there is a lot missing in terms of clarity, as also Lidia highlighted, that would make policymaker to take these choices for the future.
Thank you so much. That was very consistent, and I like that you highlighted the systemic approach, because I think that's one of the key issues to link up the different concepts. May I raise the same question to Lidia?
Yes, of course. So I would like to tell you the story of the recycled paper. So when we started to ask recycled paper for the printing services, it was really hard to ask compatibility with recycled paper in the printing machine, because the producers say that the compatibility with the recycled paper was too hard to assess, and then that affects the use of the machine, and the guarantee is not possible to maintain. So the long story of recycled paper now seems just something that we do not consider anymore. But the time being from the beginning right now is too long. So the process that we used when we asked in 2005 recycled paper now is not suitable. So we don't have so much time to wait for the change. So if we want to act and we want to see the change that we are convinced is the best choice that we have right now, what we need? So we need clear message to public authorities. And in this term, I think that it's important to simplify the complexity of the choice. In which terms? If we have all the scientific evidence that one kind of product from bio-based or from recycling or from a specific material has an environmental footprint better than another, the policymakers must make a choice and say exactly which are the alternatives that the public procurers can consider. And this is the frame, so the most important thing to assess. The second is how to simplify the work of procurers. So based on the scientific evidence, we need a simple verification means of proof in terms of certificates, in terms of labels, in terms of standards that helps to assess the concept that is settled by the policymakers. This is not enough. So what we certified right now is that there is a need to have some incentives to the suppliers that invested in a new technology, in a new production, in a new material. In this way, it's important that the responsibility of the public sector in terms of policymakers address also the framework of incentives in terms of making at the same level of price products that actually costs more. Also, if the life cycle of the product is more and more advantageous in the entire life cycle. So in these terms, I think that incentives, public incentives, play a very important role, but is everything that I said is related, because if the policymakers know exactly which are the environmental impacts of materials, they must make a choice, or they must address the message in a clear way to public procurers in terms of comparability of materials. And then at the same time, the regulatory frame must be completed with the evidence of what they settled into the policy recommendation. And the role of the incentives are related with the choice of the public. And in this way, we can really make the change that we want to see. But all these kind of conditions must be related to a right communication to procurers, to citizens. If we want to address the message, must be clear, give the evidence, help for incentives, and communicate the advantages, because if we communicate in the right way, also the message is not related to public procurement, but could be related to procurement itself, so to citizens, to the total spend of a product or service or whatever we are addressing.
Thank you very much. With that, I come to the same question also to Martin with some examples from the Sealand region.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with Lidia and Oriana. Yeah, you have to take a risk sometimes as a government or a city. Otherwise, the economy doesn't launch. And for example, not the example now, regarding now, bio-based asphalt. We have a local supplier who delivers bio-based asphalt. And the asphalt, the glue of the asphalt to combine sand and stones is made from an extract from plants instead of oil-based bitumen. We want to support that because it's also a local supplier. There's no certification for that asphalt, but we talked with that supplier and also about guarantees. Well, he told us if we want to buy that asphalt, we got a 1 year longer guarantee. And he could assure that because this asphalt is better, it's stronger. So for the supplier, that was no problem. And that's one of the solutions. And to make a bridge to that picture over here, again, I told it earlier. You must look at your local region. What's in it? For example, a circular building. We have beach houses, and every season we build them again. We break them off before the storm season, and then in the summer we bring them back. So that's also something we do for years. Circular building, it's in our blood, we can say. So yeah, that's important. And here you see the tourism sector in our region. we have a lot of German tourists, and yeah, they prefer durability. So and yeah, the accommodations in the tourism sector, well, every 10 years they change because other wishes, they want something else. So that's a great example where you can put circularity in. And yeah, that's what I want to tell you.
Thank you very much for those concluding words. With that, I want to thank the panelists. You raised some very interesting issues, and you can see from the chat that it has sparked quite a lot of interest. I'm trying to combine the questions to put it together. So the first one was looking towards the concepts of bio-based, of circular, of low carbon. So what do you highlight and how, and what are your measures, or do you actually would you recommend to combine the concepts? May I ask who wants to be the first one to react to that? Like, how do you combine bio-based, circularity, low carbon, similar measures, and or would you combine them all together? And if so, how do you measure that? Maybe let's start with Martin. You look like you want to answer.
Yeah, most of the time we make a choice. You can't do it all at once. So we check out where we can make the most impact, and then we go for that. And yeah, in building, for example, first, of course, we want to build circular. Dus we want to reuse the materials which are there already, and then combine that with bio-waste products. Yeah, in one of our buildings last time we had a problem with finance. But we, because we had to use FSC wood, that's a certificated wood. But we used reused wood, what's even better than new FSC wood. So yeah, sometimes you got also this sort of problems.
Okay, that sounds like a good and also creative solutions of combining different aspects. Lidia, do you want to comment on that? Because we're very much on the circularity, but circular, bio-based, low carbon.
Yeah, so it depends, to be honest, on time that you have to procure. If you have time enough to do a very good market analysis, that is the starting point of the process. So analyzing the market and then give the time to suppliers to participate in this open market consultation and give the analyze the results and then compare results and then take a choice. And sometimes all the support that comes from the market, the market consultation is not enough clear and precise about the results and about performances of materials compared to the life cycle or the analysis of evidence on performance. So in this way, I think there is a need to be more interactive with the market, but the market must be prepared to give the evidence of what they are proposing in the correct way. And let me say that we are talking not about day-by-day procurement. So when we talk about bio-based products, when we talk about very innovative products, we are addressing the market in a specific category of products, that is the public procurement of innovative solutions. In this way, we are detecting from the market what is really innovative And to understand the innovativeness of a product, we must take into consideration 3 dimensions. So the economicity of the choice, and then in terms of efficiency and effectiveness. And then we are analyzing also the environmental aspect, so the environmental footprints, the advantages for the environment. And the 3rd dimension is the advantages for the society as a whole, or for the social people involved and related with the procurement initiative. In this way, the evaluation is really complex, and these 3-dimensional aspects to be combined together needs to take the risk to go to an innovative product. So it's why it's so complex. It is not the day-by-day procurement. Is something that is really new. And to be new, it needs, on the other hand of the table, to have a procurement authority that is able to understand, to detect the innovativeness of the product, and to take the risk.
Thank you. Oriana, do you want to add
something? Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure. I'd like to contribute. This is a very interesting question, because let's say that highlights 2 kinds of problems. The first one is that the fact that, as we have highlighted, circular economy principles in terms of resource efficiency management are not very much included in the public procurement is telling on the fact that one of the problems is difficult to measure. Now, the difficulty in the measurement, it is definitely due to several issues. One could be the capacity and the time, as Lidia was mentioning, but also about a bit of confusion of what, for example, the circular economy is, and how these principles can be included in public procurement in a way that is, objectively speaking, proved, and on which basis there is a justification of, at the time where we live, for a higher cost, for example, in this case. Now, the issue of measurement in general is not only a reflection of the difficulties in including circular related principles in public procurement, but on measuring a circular economy in general, in terms of progress or in terms of advancement towards this system. Within the study at the OECD that I mentioned, and I'm happy to share the link in the chat, we have analyzed more than 500 indicators related to circular economy strategies at different levels of government, so done by local authorities, regional authorities, and national government. And what came out is that the majority of indicators are basically data-driven rather than objective-driven, meaning that we use the data that, of course, are available, but we need much more than that. So circular economy progress now are measured mostly using environmental related indicators on emissions or on material, those that are available in relation to waste, but there is much more that needs to be done. For example, having an understanding of the economic impact, the social impact, even, for example, on jobs, harmonizing all these indicators across government in order also to make a comparison and to use similar standards. So indeed, the issue of measurement and methodologies used for measuring advancement and progress on the circular economy, it is very much ongoing, and something that also we are working on at the OECD. one of the first things that we developed now is a scoreboard on the governance of the circular economy, in which we also try to have an understanding of how a tool like public procurement that we discussed today can be put in place, and if there are enabling conditions for which the public procurement can be conducive to the transition towards a circular economy.
Thank you very much. You highlighted a lot on the difficulty to measure, and what has been discussed also in the chat quite a bit is like, then still, what would be the solution? So how do you avoid greenwashing, or would it be best to develop a specific bio-based or circular label, or even a database of approved products, a bit like the use bio-preferred? What would you recommend? So how to avoid greenwashing, to have a specific logo, or to have a database of approved products? May I ask the three speakers to react to that? Maybe Oriana, do you want to start on that? You talked about the scoreboard, or is that would be a specified label or database be also suitable?
In general, what we have seen through case studies and this dialogue with several stakeholders is that labels would help, or certification also would help for citizens also to make more sustainable choice, but with a higher level of awareness on what they're buying. So the same way these labels could help citizens, then in a certain way on a upper scale could also help a local government to make their choices. Along the same line, a certification could help with the social responsibility and environmental responsibility of business to be recognized, because we know, and Martin also showed us, that in order to produce and commercialize a bio-based product, you need to invest, you need to risk, and you need to make experimentation and pilots. So in order to start up and then to scale up, which is the very obstacles of all this initiative to scale up, a certification could help. Now, problems remains. First of all, who is doing the labeling and who is doing the certification? Second of all, how this is trustable, who is checking who is doing the label and the certification. So there is an overall governance system that needs to be taken into account. And honestly, when we talk to the cities about the need for certification to enhance trust and transparency, we have been told, yes, we already have lots of certification. Why adding another additional certification? On what exactly? Because again, we are talking in the case we analyze, so the circular economy. Again, it's an umbrella concept, it's very complex. So there are several phases of a circular economy system, from the upstream in preventing waste to the downstream in transforming waste into resources. So the label of the certification should come up on the overall system, should certify relationship and collaboration across the supply chain, which is also important. So it is interesting. It's an interesting concept, and we believe that, for example, collaboration between business, universities, research center, and local government to have an understanding of what are the needs from the local government and how business and university can stimulate the also innovation. It's very important. And so for the labeling and the certification, I just wanted to share these issues within this debate.
Thank you very much. Then I know that Lidia needs to disappear in one moment. So thank you very much for your participation. So
It was a pleasure from my side, but unfortunately I have another meeting and I cannot continue to stay with you. So it was really a pleasure also to meet my panelists. So I wish to meet you and keep in touch with you. So thank you very much and have a good continuation. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you very much for joining. Which brings me to Martin, the same question to you. A new label, a new certification, a database, or how do you avoid greenwashing in your region?
Yeah, that's one of the problems I pointed out. Yeah, labels and certification are easy for us as buyers, but there's also a risk, and a risk to avoid access of small innovative suppliers. And most of the bio-based products come from very small suppliers, and they all don't have always the money to certificate, because certificates cost sometimes a lot of money. So that would be a pity if we don't get those innovative products on that. Yeah, we try to solve that in our database we are building together with all other departments and also a high school and a center of expertise for bio-based economy. Yeah, to get also access for those small suppliers, and that's why we introduced that board and yeah, we are thinking about the criteria for the database. That's still under construction, but yeah, I think for myself, I think a database is the best solution.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think with that, we have caught the main questions condensed that have come from the chat. So thank you very much for that. With this, I would like to use the opportunity to also ask the audience, and of course also you as panelists are free to answer as well. We have a small Menti exercise prepared with 2 questions, and here I want to hand over to my colleague Blasius Schmidt, who will guide us through the process. So Blasius, can you take over here?
Yes, for sure, Diana. Thank you very much. Yeah, dear attendees, as you can see on the screen, there is a QR code you can scan, or you can go directly to menti.com via your smartphone and enter the code 65655424. And then you should be presented with 2 short questions where you can type in 1 to 2 words or even a sentence in case of the second question. So I will give you a few moments to log in and read the question. The first question would be, which bio-based products and services are best suited for advancement via public procurement? So once again, it's menti.com. And I will share my screen with you now. So this is the web address, there's the code. Feel free to answer the questions and then they will hopefully pop up in the screen and we can discuss about it.
Thank you very much. We give that about 2 minutes. It should be rather fast. And it will come up rather soon anyway.
Okay, the first results come in. If you're not familiar with Menti, the bigger the words, the more regular they are typed in. So construction materials seem to be a relevant topic, as well as building products, which is in the same category, also renovation products, construction. Other things are food textiles, wooden beams, again, construction related, roadworks, insulation materials. Also, of course, furniture. Yeah, so as it seems, construction materials and construction related products are well suited according to our attendees webinar. Shall we go to the second question, Diana?
Yes, please.
So now the second question, there you can write a bit more if you would like to. The second question is, what is the most effective strategy for promoting the use of bio-based solutions? So the first results are coming in. Education and awareness rising. Very important. Specific product and materials campaigns. Campaigns also connected to awareness rising. Sharing of examples, successful and not successful. Regulatory support, of course. Informing about life cycle effects. National and regional roadmaps. Policy and social awareness, bio-based uptake indicators. Very knowledgeable attendees we have, very relevant points, I think. Engage suppliers and civil society, carbon tax as a possibility, of course. So the three big pillars of policy, regulatory, financial, and information are presented here in our answers. Very good. Procurement laws, consideration of bio-based criteria, label, etc., CO2 limits. Well, now that the
Okay, very interesting. So a very big thank you also to our audience. As we contact with the survey and also with the sending out a lot of experts on public procurement, on circular bioeconomy, on regional development. So I'm very thankful for both the audience, but also for our panelists for the discussions, for very relevant topics, for promoting and going further into how do we advance low carbon, bio-based circular solutions. So a very big thank you for both the panelists, but also for the audience. To close this session, we heard a lot on the importance of local solutions, of giving examples, showcasing good examples, but also on a systemic approach. So I'm very, very happy that we had a very good discussion like this. In terms of what happens now, after this webinar, we will, well, as I said, the webinar has been recorded, so we will share with the participants, of course, once you have edited the video a bit, where you can access the video. We will also produce a short notes from the seminar. If you're interested in more activities that the Bioregions Facility is launching, feel free to subscribe. You can see the QR code here. You can also go to the webpage. And I would also like to stay in contact with of course, with our panelists, with our audience, for those who are interested in the survey. And if you have a region who says work on promoting the circular bioeconomy is of interest of us, then please feel free to get into contact with us. If you have good examples or things that you want to further collaborate in any of the topics, if it's policy, if it's business, or if it's social awareness, we are very happy to discuss. So with that, we end a bit ahead of time, but after very, very good discussion. So thank you very much. And Leire, do you still want to say some words?
No, I would like to thanks to the panelists. I think that all the program has been very interesting, the discussion also, because I note a lot of things that we know about them, but we need to continue working in some of these things. And thank you also for the audience. And this is the first step. We have started with this one, and of course we will have more opportunities to work in bio-based public procurement, but in other kind of things connected with bioeconomy strategy and actions. Thank you, Diana, and thank you for all the team, because you have a very you have worked a lot, all the team of EFI, and thank you a lot also for the webinar and the preparation of that.
Yeah. Thank you very much. With that, I wish you all a wonderful sunny day, a nice evening, and hope to hear and see you soon. Bye.